Welcome back to the Watch Along Gang. Today we have the highly
Welcome
anticipated.
back. Welcome back to the Matrix after 20 years.
Yeah,
we should have
I
all worn
forgot this is
sunglasses.
coming out this year.
I mean, it's one of those things where you hear it's coming out, but then everything keeps getting pushed back. So you're like, I don't know if it is or not. I don't know what's going
this
on
is
with
also
any of
one of
movies
those
nowadays.
COVID
Also, it seemed like too weird a thing until there's a trailer. You're like, they're making a Matrix 4, really? Like, yeah, there's a trailer.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
well,
well, we can go on a whole rant afterwards if you want about 20-year sequels and why they keep doing it.
I don't
but,
mind it.
I don't mind it because we're old and we remember the originals, but I'm wondering if anybody younger than us.
Yeah, I don't know.
They do.
Honestly,
Yeah, I think-
that's something that people.
Yeah, I think people
we'll find out. We'll find out.
Let's watch this.
Let's go ahead and watch the beautiful beam footage.
It looks like the HBO intro again.
Oh, it does look like that.
Well, it's not real. It's virtual. It's Matrix.
Thomas? You seem particularly triggered right now. Can you tell me what happened?
Doogie.
I've had dreams that weren't just dreams.
Am I crazy? We don't use that word in here.
In this crazy house.
Okay, I'm confused about what's happening.
I'm going to assume they're in the Matrix right now again.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna assume
And he
like
doesn't
news cycle.
remember anything?
Or he's a new Neo. Who knows?
Did they de-age her? Because she doesn't look...
No.
No, she looks good.
One pill makes you larger.
For 20 years, I think she looks pretty good.
One pill makes you small. And the ones that mother gives you.
This could be more fun in today's world because we've all done this. We're all in the Matrix kind of nonsense for so long. It'd be fun.
Time to fly.
That guy's getting all the work.
Yeah.
If you want the truth, Neo, you're going to have to fly me.
Is this a sequel or a remake? It
I
almost
like
looks
how
like
this is
a...
going like the Force Awakens are out.
The
Like,
majesty is still here.
I
know
think
it's
they
why
missed
you're
an
still
opportunity to
fighting.
call this the
Why
Matrix
you will never
reboot.
give up. You don't know me. No?
Look, it's got a broader color palette
yeah.
than the original movie.
Which is unusual nowadays.
Well, it still looks like that sort of extreme color grading. It's just not all leaning in one direction. This is kind of to your point. Is this going to be just kind of a soft remake? Like, does
It kind of looks like it,
very
doesn't it?
different? Yeah. Are Matrix movies just going to be like Terminator sequels now?
After all these years, to be going back to where it all started. Back to the Matrix.
Well, I'm interested, but of course I'll watch.
Well, I mean, not necessarily a given.
It.
Megan never even saw the original sequels.
Well, you don't. I don't think you need to see the original sequels.
It doesn't look like you do.
But well, I meant I just don't think they add to the original story.
Well, it's like it's weird how like I don't know how in society how meta they're getting with like you know what I mean, like they're commenting on the Matrix on the like
Yeah, like they're going to do a Matrix
from
multiverse.
well from a reality standpoint, say the first three are reality, right? And then this is they never said what the other anomalies looked like. They said he was an anomaly that happened. They could all look like him too, though. You know what I mean? They could technically could be.
Well, don't they show when he meets the God character? He shows screens with like all the different versions of Neo in them.
I don't remember that. Like, I remember the architect, but it shows screens of all that room with him in it, though. So I don't know. Like, wonder they could have this could be a story where what if he was the anomaly that just never went down the path that? What if he chose the blue pill earlier
Or
on?
he's-
You know what I mean?
Or
Like,
he's some new thing. There is a sort of Dark Tower vibe where you
But then-
guys keep saying these cycles keep
Right.
happening.
But then there's like a young Morpheus, and it's like an older Trinity. Like it's a weird, interesting, like what the reality.
That's what I don't.
Yeah, that was weird.
There's a younger Oracle too.
Oh, was that the Oracle? I didn't even catch that.
Well, that lady in the like bookshop. Look, I mean,
Yeah.
she had like an Alice in Wonderland, and
I see what you're saying now. I just didn't catch it when I was watching it.
I mean, not gonna be, but like it's just weird. I mean, it's we could say like this is weirdly trippy and stuff. I just wonder what the reality of this timeline is. You know, like what is. Because they both died, right? Everybody died that's in this.
Everybody
Morpheus,
died. Well, what I'd like to see in this is, like, if you remember, like, the second movie when it came out, when Morpheus, when Neo gets this good monster's coming after him, and he's out of the Matrix, and he holds up his hand, and he's able to sort of magically control them and stuff, and it's near the end of the movie, and you're like, wait a second. They never got out of the Matrix then, right? Like, that's what you're saying.
Oh, that's
like,
interesting.
you're still in the Matrix. And then in the third movie, like, no, a whole bunch of bullshit that it does. No, it's a whole other thing, and fusion of man and machine, and it's something to do with the Gnostic Gospels. It's like, yeah, that's the metaphor. Like, but within the story, what happened was he was able to use his Matrix powers outside of the Matrix. So
you're saying if it's like
him being the one matters outside of the Matrix, then they're never really outside of the Matrix.
I mean that is a clue. I mean, yeah, again, all that stuff ruins the kind of simplicity of the first one, but if it's like a turtles all the way down sort of situation, I guess it could, because that's what I mean. That's been the modern since the Matrix. It was before we had all the simulation talk, and that simulation talk always involves we're like in a simulation of a simulation of a simulation of a simulation, like. And in the Matrix, that was never the case. They never did a nested Inception-y thing at all. Like that, it wasn't brought up. You know, the idea that they were in the Matrix.
They didn't follow through. They made it seem like that's where they were headed, and then
I guess that is a natural progression of this idea.
Yeah, I would. Then you could reboot it any way you want.
Well, because then you could say that Matrix that he was in, that was outside of the Matrix he was powerful in, just ended because they died, and he woke up in another Matrix.
They rebooted the system.
Well, he's having dreams about it, right? So he's like an older guy in that Matrix having.
He's modern Keanu with long hair and beard.
Yeah.
He's like John
Wick. Less emotive face. He's
John Wick Keanu.
If you see pre-John Wick Keanu, where he used to be able to like smile and stuff when he was young and pretty, and now he's just always really severe looking, like his face doesn't. Like people used to accuse him of being wooden looking, but he made regular expressions and stuff. Now he's just like real tough looking all the time. When he was trying to do Bill and Ted, it became really noticeable. Because he couldn't be like this goofy.
Yeah,
he's
that's why
fine in it. But
he works in John Wick because he's a wooden character. You know, the character is like that kind of guy.
Scary looking.
But
like, he's perfect.
People say you should be Wolverine, and I'm like, no, that would be terrible.
Well, but in the first Matrix, even so, he kind of scoffs and gasps and like he's laughing sometimes.
He's a little bit Bill and Ted in that. He's like, whoa.
Yeah, if they
I
really
know kung
had,
fu.
Like, if they really were brave, they would do a whole Dark Tower thing where this is like. Bill and Ted and all these other characters he played were different versions of his.
Point Break.
Yeah, it's like Point Break.
I don't know that bring all that into it, but I would definitely say this is just some new cycle of all that.
Right.
And
I hope it's better than those sequels.
Get, like real complicated.
And again,
weird, like in the third one,
I always felt weird watching those sequels when they came out because I'm like, is this bad or am I not smart? You know, it's because it's so. It tries to be so high. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but if you want to talk about, you could talk about the philosophy of it all day, and even some of the expansion. As a movie, the second one's pretty bad. Like they're kind of bad as movies, but they're not necessarily.
Yeah,
I don't think the lore is necessarily
the thematic elements are interesting.
Yeah,
but
I think it's prequels. It's like Star Wars. You know, it's like there's some cool stuff here. I don't know if it's executed in this 2 hours the way I'd want to see it, but
the Matrix philosophy sometimes breaks down, and maybe not as bad, but in the same way that people will try to tell you that there's greater themes at work in like Batman v Superman or a movie like this. Like that may be what they're going for, but I don't know that the execution bears that out. Like. The Matrix is probably a little bit more on its topic there, but when you start talking about this as a metaphor for this or that, it's like we're gonna have to break it down point for point.
And I don't know, maybe I think the Wachowskis are also some of those people. I mean, I guess you could say it's similar to Nolan or some of these people that like it's just Lana and Wachowski this time. It's just one of them, but like.
Oh, really? They're not both doing it?
Yeah, it's just...
It said directed by Lana, so I don't know if the others
always
producing
both
or writing. I don't know.
Yeah, but they're like when they hit, they really hit. When they miss, they go out.
Well, they're visually awesome, but
yeah.
And they make
just like Nolan, he can do some cool visual stuff, but man, he makes things too complicated.
Was Jupiter Ascending, which I think
I didn't dislike that movie.
No, it's a really good movie. It's silly, but it's
I think that movie could have cooked longer for a couple of years, like in them conceptualizing it. But I thought it was all right before that. I
never saw Speed Racer. Is that good?
People love Speed Racer.
People are divided on it because it's crazy, but people say it's a visual spectacle like no other. Though. Like nobody tried.
I can shoot something that's like no other
than that. So it's worth watching.
I mean, I think they really have a problem though, because the first Matrix is like one of those once in a generation movies.
Yeah, like, and it stands alone.
Matrix to me I've told you guys this before. It's like it's my best theater going experience ever. Because that was before we had thick trailers, before we had anything to know these. It's like my friend brought me. He's like, "Let's just go to this. It's like an action movie. It's like looks cool." And I was, how I am. I was like, I have to understand the premise. Like, what's the game we're playing here? And for the first 40 minutes of that movie, what I don't like personally is Lynchian weirdness for being weird's sake. And if you watch that movie straight up for the first 30 minutes, it's like this weird goth world, and increasingly weirder stuff starts happening for no reason. I was literally like, "This is dumb. I have to get out of it. This is turning up like."
I'm starting to panic. I gotta leave.
Well, I've never walked out of a movie, but it's weird because it's one of the. I was probably like 18 when this came out, and it was the closest. And I was like, "This is." I can't stand Twin Peaks. That's my personal. I mean, I know everybody some people have different opinions, but. And then it turns when they make the turn. I was like, "This is the best thing ever," and it's such a solid. It's not just that it was a cool concept; they just made it so solid with. Super strong, Campbellian kind of structure and the Chosen One. All it's just everything hit in the first one.
It stands alone, just like Terminator and all these other movies that have a bunch of sequels that complicate things. The first one works.
That's why it works and the others don't work, because you get that fun buildup of discovering that world at the same time as him, and then after that, they want to introduce so many elements that there has to be an expositional element to every new thing they introduce. Someone has to come with it to tell you what the hell it is at every point in the story. And then afterwards they come back and we're going to tell you about the metaphors. I don't tell you to tell me about the metaphor because you had an in-story device that explained if somehow you have not communicated everything to me yet, then it's not happening.
Well,
every part of that story explained and apologized for itself.
Yeah, the first one was so mysterious to the point of almost confusing obfuscation the first time, like I said. Whereas the second two became like that Infinite movie that came out this year, where every second,
my God, every line was expositional.
Well, the beginning starts with it's like as if I was trying to explain the movie to somebody, like, should I watch it? It's as if the Matrix started going, there's a Matrix, and they're so and so, and they explain to you that every conversation somebody mentioned, there's a Matrix, and there's robots, and there's but they play the rest of it as if it is a mystery. But they keep explaining the premise to you. That's how the other two played out.
You guys are abusing the Access character as a trope here. It's still supposed to be subtle. They can't tell him everything as though he's an actual audience member.
And I think because that was so successful, the first one, I mean, it was just it was like a seminal kind of thing. They went more. They tried to get more action and more story, where it probably would have been better if they kind of made it simpler or did something well, and similar. It just got out of control. But then they're in giant robot things. Because my whole problem with the first movie was they make a spaceship that flies underground, and they can't make a shirt.
I love that.
Wearing shirts with
rags,
and it's just got a rip here, and it's just hand stitched up. It's they have robots, and then that's
an aesthetic that these post-apocalyptic movies love to do. Even if they have technology, they still have to look like they're.
If you're now telling
living on
me
the street.
that was a layer of the Matrix, I'll buy it now. If you're in the second generation of the Matrix, they had perfect shirts, and you're
so that's why those movies sucked. They were part of the Matrix. I just didn't realize
the shirts to be shittier. Mankind couldn't accept those shirts.
But I think it looks fun. I'll watch it. I don't know if I'll go to the theater or watch it, but I'll watch it.
I'm excited
to go to the theater at this rate.
Well, yeah. It's up to you, world. We keep saying it.
Up to you, world.
Fix yourselves so we can go to the theater.
Fix the glitch in the Matrix.
For Spider-Man's sake,